Do you like movies and games also? This and so much more, they all know. Vice, Pyro, Lotus and friends, welcome to Corrective Consciousness.
Welcome to Corrective Consciousness, episode 35, the podcast about our lives and love of pop culture. I am your host, VyseTheBold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
And PyroJackFrost.
Back from the dead.
Back from being fired.
Yeah, we were begrudgingly rehired.
Thank you. I appreciate it. This is all I have to live for anymore.
Oh, jeez. that took a turn real quick.
We saw him on the side of the road selling soft pretzels. It was awful. We told him to get back on.
It was just like that. It was just like that episode of The Simpsons with Rodney Dangerfield. I got googly-eyed walnuts. Hey, this stuff ain't good enough for you. I got some crap. Yeah.
Nice. Well, we should get going here with our main segment here. Take us away, Pyro.
So I've been up to a lot, especially since it's been 2 weeks since I've talked. The first thing is I've been playing Horizon Zero Dawn, and it is a great game.
I actually just picked it up myself, believe it or not.
Yeah, I'm beginning into it because it's my game currently, and because it's robots. But other than that, it's a really fun game. It's probably gotten me back into open world games, or at least it's showing me that they can actually be good and don't have to all be the same. Because a lot of open world games follow the same sort of ideas, and this does it, but also makes it better. Yeah. It's a lot similar to it takes the best out of a lot of different things in terms of the crafting from like the new Lara Croft games, the combat of... I don't even know what you'd compare the combat to, but I feel like in the combat, I'm actually a badass.
Nice.
Because one of the first skills you can unlock is just slowdown mode, kind of, where you have a limited amount of time to aim your shots better, because it's really hard to aim a bow and arrow at a moving target. So that's probably why they gave you that ability right away. And in the beginning, I would kind of avoid robots, and I still do when I'm exploring, but they're like these big ones that I wouldn't want to take down because I'm like, they're going to kill me. But now I just go in there and plan out what I'm going to do. I also started the game just using the normal bow and normal arrows, and because I didn't want to waste my ammo from the other weapons in case I might need it later. But then I started using it, and I'm like, this changes the game completely. If you actually use the tripwires and the different kinds of arrows you have and the grenades and stuff, then it completely changes the game, and it's really, really interesting in how to go about these. Because in most games, you fight human enemies, and you'd have to headshot them, and that's about it. Or you can go in guns blazing. But in this, the robots have heads, but they don't take headshots. You have to aim for certain parts of their bodies to knock off armor, and other parts are usually weak spots. So if you what you call focus, you have this thing called a focus, so you can see their weak spots. You can see where you have to hit. But they're constantly moving too, and there are certain parts that aren't weak spots. But if you hit them and destroy them, it disables one of their abilities, and it's just so much stuff going on in combat. It's great.
I actually really appreciate that the head is not the robot's weak point, because robots aren't born; they're made. Mm-hmm. And why would you put the weak spot where every single other life form has its weak spot? You could, if you cut off a robot's head, should it really just die and that's it? Why don't you put its life force in the most protected area, because you can build it wherever you want? So I appreciate that Horizon Zero Dawn does that.
You would certainly put the hard drive and the PCU in the torso, because that's where the most storage space would be, right?
Probably, or even, I don't think the game's gonna do this, but if you could control it remotely, why don't you hide it behind some rocks or something where you're never gonna find it?
Well, no, because all the robots are their own separate things, and they're being made. It's kind of cool, the whole story too, because you start off knowing that it's post-apocalypse, and that the robots apparently have been getting more and more aggressive. But it's really cool trying to uncover why they're aggressive and what happened to Earth to get it to that state, because it takes place on Earth in like the far future, where we went so far that we created robots to help us with things, and something happened and it destroyed the Earth.
I do
Now
like it when games
nature's
have
growing
you...
again.
Yeah, no, I do like it when games have you discover why the apocalypse happened. Like, it's one of those things where it's so far into the future, you're like, this is just the way of life. Like, it's kind of cool when you could look back and learn what the deal is with why things are the way they are. It reminds me almost of when you showed me Hyper Light Drifter. There's just these, like, graveyards of dead giant robots, and you're like, what even happened here?
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because I don't actually think they're going to tell you how, like, the main story, I don't think you figure out how it got to that point. Because there's another thing going on that's the actual story where you just assume, oh, cool, this is post-apocalypse Earth where nature's taken over and there's robots, and we put this story in this environment.
Sure.
But there's, like, collectibles you can look at that kind of uncover what might have happened.
Yeah, it's very Dark Souls in that regard. Like, you don't have to find out anything, but if you want to look at the item descriptions, then here you go.
That's really cool. I like I said in previous podcasts, that previous episodes, this type of game is my favorite. I love adventure games, and I love that the open world game is no longer reserved just for the crime genre. Like, for a while there, it was just like Grand Theft Auto and Grand Theft Auto clones. But ever since, like, Assassin's Creed kind of merged adventure games and open world games, it's been steadily merging more and more where other types of games can function within that kind of structure. And I love that, like, Zelda and games that are of that ilk are really taking advantage of it. It kind of reminds me of, like, I'll get more into this. It kind of gets into the territory of what the original Zelda did. You have this big open world, and you kind of are trying to figure out what to do in it, and you have all these items and different types of enemies. It's just such a good time in gaming, and I love that the people making games are really recognizing that pretty much anything can be done in an open world structure. Any type of game. You have RPGs doing that with Final Fantasy 15. And making it really fun. You can go out and explore in any game, and that's going to be fun. No matter what the mechanics are, it's going to be fun to see, the stuff you populate it with.
Yeah, and it's really cool because I haven't even been doing the story. I've just been exploring the world, and I know it's really nice that they have, in like one of the first shops you go to, you can buy maps that show you where most of the collectibles are, most of the main collectibles. So I've been going to collect them, and I've just been exploring the world. And the other cool thing about it is it has the normal open world tower thing, but they're not the same. They like do it's in their own way. That's really cool. I find that's not just, hey, climb this tower and see everything around. There are towers. There's only like 5 of them, but they're unique, which is really cool.
That is cool. And refreshing too, that they put in that kind of effort into detail to make sure that they are unique.
Yeah, it's great. I've been playing it basically non-stop since I got it. I'm about 2/3 of the way through. I'm hoping that I'll be able to beat it by next week, but we'll see, because I want to be able to get in some more Final Fantasy X. It's funny that I haven't beaten it before, and then I started playing it again. I'm like, I kind of want to beat it this time, so we'll see. The other game that I started playing actually this week was Torment: Tides of Numinera.
Oh yeah,
we talked about this a couple podcasts ago. It's the spiritual sequel to Planescape Torment, made by the same people in a completely different world, and it's really fun and interesting. The only thing I have against it with me playing Horizon is there's just lots and lots of text. Basically, it feels like a visual novel where there's more than just the text. It's like you can move around a map and there's quests and whatever, but there's just tons of text, and I found myself skipping through some of it, if not a lot of it, once I get the gist of the story, because it's just text upon text. And it's cool because there is combat, but you can talk your way out of anything as long as you have the right skills.
That's cool.
Awesome.
So you could go through the game without fighting any enemies, I've heard.
I really liked that about Fallout 3. That like I had I don't know if this is spoilers. I guess it is, but I towards the end there can be a pretty big battle, and there can be a situation in which you have to fight. But I had like a scientific skill that allowed me to logic my way out of it, for lack of a better word. And the person I was talking to like conceded because of the logic that I used. So it was really great. I loved it.
It reminds me almost of the semi-boss encounters in Deus Ex Human Revolution, where you had to gauge the other person's like personality type and cater to that. So you might want to be more aggressive toward a certain person or more acquiescence toward another, but you could theoretically talk your way out of certain confrontations. If you fail, it'll turn into a fight, but if you succeed, they acknowledge whatever it is you were doing. You'll get like 1,000 XP or something. Those were some of the more entertaining parts of the game.
Yeah, I liked how in even the first Deus Ex, other than the bosses, you could sneak and talk your way throughout most of the game and without any combat, and the bosses kind of ruined that. So the first boss was a eye-opener for me when I played that, because I was trying to sneak and talk out of everything, and then I had to fight the boss, so I was kind of not ready for it, but I managed.
With the director's cut, you can handle that in different ways by like hacking turrets or whatever, but you still do have to kill him, which is kind of a shame. In the original Deus Ex, you could go through the entire game and not kill anybody, including what would or even should be boss encounters.
Yeah, and I think that's really cool, but again, it just comes down to there's so much text in this game. So I've only played it for a few hours, let's say, because I've been really, really into Horizon, obviously, so I didn't want to, I want to say waste my time, but I didn't want to split my time in that way. But I will be going back to it because I did love Planescape Torment, and this world seems really, really interesting, if to say anything. So the whole point of it is there is this guy who found out how to live forever. And to do so, he basically creates new bodies for himself and basically puts his mind in the new body. But the body that he left gets its own personality, and it's called a cast-off. So you play as the latest cast-off. You're called the last cast-off, but it's basically the last one so far. And you don't know why you're there. People are afraid of you or don't trust you or whatever because of that fact. Some people like your quote-unquote father. Some people don't. And it's just, it's an interesting world. And I don't feel like I got far at all. I'm like, let's say, 4 maps into the game, and I've been playing for 4 hours or so. Just because of all the side quests and people I've been talking to. It's crazy.
That's a really cool premise.
Yeah.
So my big question is, part of the appeal of the original game is the big mystery behind your whole state of being. Mm-hmm. And so I guess your state of being that you can't die, you're immortal, is a big part of the mechanics of the game. How does the new one deal with that? Because I can't imagine they have they delve into the same type of scenario where you have a person who can't die, unless they are trying to retread that or go in a different direction.
Well, you're the old body though, so can't you die?
Yeah, so about that, I'm not entirely sure. I haven't died yet, so I don't know what happens. I do know that you still have like a connection to your, I guess you could say, father. When you first start the game, actually it has a really cool character creation screen where, or it's not like you just sitting there picking what your character looks like, giving him a name, picking his skills. Basically, it starts off with it's just asking you questions about how you would do certain situations, and
okay. So you know what that's reminiscent of? That's actually reminiscent of Ultima 4. So Ultima 4 would give you a series of philosophical questions, and it would roll your character based off of those.
Yeah, so it's similar to that because it asks you, like, let's say 5 stories worth of questions, which is 5 questions. And then your answers give you the 5 characters you would have made. So you can then pick one of those, and it doesn't give you the stats you say. It's just, here are the 5 people that are in the mirror looking at you. Which one do you connect to the most? And then once you pick that, you can obviously change it to be whatever you want. But it's really cool to have a different way of making your character. But again, after that, you're in your mind, and that's how you can like reconstruct yourself, kind of thing. So I don't know if you can die or not. I haven't gotten into a situation where I could even die to check it out, but I will be checking that when I can, just to see if it's a game over or if something else happens to talk about that. But I think in this game, it's more of like having your own sense of being when you are living in your father's shadow, and it's probably more than that, but that's what it seems like so far.
Real cool.
Yeah. So that's been fun. So those are 2 big games that are going to last me a while. And the last thing I wanted to mention before we move on to Lotus Prince is I've actually gotten the time this weekend to basically binge watch Luke Cage
Nice.
on Netflix. Yeah, just in time because Iron Fist comes out on Friday, I think.
Do they do a team up in that? Do you know?
No, Iron Fist wasn't in Luke Cage. I don't know who's going to be in, if anyone's going to be in Iron Fist, but I know that after Iron Fist, they are making a Defenders TV show.
Wait, here's a question. I might be way off on this, but is Luke Cage the same person as Power Man?
Yes.
Yeah, because there were a bunch of comics, Power Man and Iron Fist.
Yeah, but in the TV show, so far they didn't team up.
Okay.
Yeah, because I know in the comics, Iron Fist and Luke Cage are very much partners most of the time.
Yeah, and they might go into that in Iron Fist's show, but they haven't released it yet, so I'm not sure.
Has there been a bad Marvel show yet? I think all of them have been pretty good.
So I've watched all of them. I've watched up to the latest season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I watched both seasons of Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and Luke Cage, and so far they're all pretty good. I heard that Iron Fist was only okay. It was the worst one out of all of them, but I haven't watched it yet to make my own judgment. I will say, in the end, they are great superhero shows because they try not to concentrate too much on the superhero part and try to concentrate on basically the things going on in life and how the superhero is dealing with that situation. But it's not like, hey, here's someone who can solve every problem that we have.
See, that's why I really liked Daredevil, because I only saw a couple episodes of that, but I loved every moment of it. It's not because I didn't stop watching it because I didn't like it. I absolutely loved it. I think the heart of Daredevil can't be gotten in a movie, because it's a pretty complex character, and he needs to be able to have that courtroom drama, as well as the superhero angle in order for it to get the whole of the character. Because a big part of that, what makes that character good, is that he does good in both parts of his life. Yeah. You know, it's not like Clark Kent, where, you know, he kind of just does that in order to get a connection to people. He does that in order to get leads on what he needs to do as a superhero, which is really neat. They go hand in hand. He's defending them within the law and then also outside of it, which I think is a really cool dynamic, and I'm glad that the show allows the character to be explored in that way. But you can't really do that in a movie, right? You have in most superhero movies, you need to have a lead up to a big fight, right? You need to have a villain, and in a lot of Daredevil stories, you don't necessarily have a central figure that's evil, but maybe a big part of the system. that's
Well,
evil or corrupt.
in the first season of Daredevil, Fisk was definitely the villain the whole way,
Sure.
but it's better because in a movie you have 2 hours to tell the story to lead up to a villain, whereas in a TV show you have more time to let it pick up. You have basically, let's say, 13 hours, whereas the last episode might be the big battle, but that big battle is only going to take, let's say, a half an hour out of the 13 hours, so everything else is built up, so everyone's growing. Even the villain grows. Like in Luke Cage, the way that the villains grow, because there's, you could say, more than one, is really, really interesting. Because they don't necessarily grow in the way you expect, but the same way they do. It's just really cool how you can see more growth in a TV show than you can in a movie.
I agree. I think like characters such as like Sherlock Holmes, I feel like first of all, Sherlock Holmes, the whole structure of it lends itself to an episodic structure. However, with that, you get to build up to a big villain like Moriarty. I really like the Guy Ritchie, Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes movies, but I'm a big fan of Guy Ritchie movies in general. I like them a lot.
I'm looking forward to the King Arthur movie he's going to make.
Yeah, like all of his movies are really stylized, and some people might not like that because they're kind of over the top. But I really like them. I've liked them since his early movies. Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. I really love that. I love Snatch quite a bit.
Lock, Stock was pretty funny. I enjoyed that one.
Oh, did you see Snatch?
I have not seen Snatch.
It's kind of like a spiritual successor to Lock, Stock. It's pretty much the same type of movie. You have a lot of moving parts that converge around one central thing. So Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, it's around, a pair of antique rifles, right?
Yeah.
And in Snatch, it's about a diamond. It's the same kind of movie. It's just that Snatch has a budget. The budget to back it up, so it has a lot of famous people in it. It has Jason Statham, and it has Brad Pitt in it. And
was Jason Statham famous by that point? Because the way Lock, Stock was done, it just made it look like he was just one of the guys in the movie. I don't think it was like, oh, it's a Jason Statham movie.
Yeah, he's a lot more famous when he was in Snatch than he was in Lock, Stock.
Okay.
Because it's a few years later. And I don't think he had hit quite transporter status yet, but people knew who he was. Let's just say that. I don't know whether transporter had hit by that point, but it was still... he was a well-known person. Let's just say that. Mm-hmm. And there are other Benicio del Toro's in the movie. I mean... There's some famous people in Snatch, and the directing style definitely, it's like, okay, he could use a lot more equipment in this movie than in the previous one, just like by the way he moves the camera. He wouldn't have been able to do that on a small budget.
Okay.
Crane shots and things like that. It's noticeable if you're into that kind of thing. But anyway, I digress. As much as I like those types of movies, I think a better Sherlock Holmes experience is watching it from week to week. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can have both of them, which is what's happening right now, right? You in fact, you have a lot of Sherlock experiences going on. You have the British one, you have the American one, and you have the movies that are going on off towards the side.
Yep.
I mean, it's a good time to be a Sherlock Holmes fan because you have a lot of different choices as to how he's portrayed. I think it's great, and all of them are quality, if you ask me. I mean, you might have some Sherlock Holmes nerds that would be like, okay, well, I don't like the movies or whatever because they're super stylized, but I think the movies are great. I want a third one really badly. I really like the second one a lot. So anyway, you can of course continue your point about the Marvel shows.
No, I mean I think I said everything that I wanted to say. It's been a lot's going on for me for the past 2 weeks because I had a week off from the podcast. So that's all I wanted to say. So Lotus Prince, how about you?
Okay, well, I have a few things going on this time around. Normally, I just continue talking about the same couple of things I progress a little bit in, but I guess I could start with one of those, but the other things are a little bigger. First of all, really quickly, I want to mention the Binding of Isaac, Rebirth, Afterbirth Plus, whatever you want to call it, the latest iteration. I had mentioned a whole bunch of podcasts ago that there's an unlockable character called the Keeper, who is difficult to just deal with at all, because he has a 3-way shot, but the rate of fire is pretty slow, so you better hit things directly in the face for you to be able to deal real damage. And he only has 2 HP, and his HP is measured in coins, not hearts. So if you ever want to heal, you'd better have coins around. So beating the game with him is very difficult, because with the Lost, which dies in 1 hit, you could eventually unlock a shield for him that restores each room, so you basically always have a free hit. With the Keeper, if you get hit once, if you don't heal, then you have 1 HP left, and you cannot upgrade that amount of health unless you happen to find some particular item that I've just not picked up yet. So the thing with the Keeper is, once you start beating things with him and unlocking abilities for him, he becomes a little more playable. One thing that he unlocks is the wooden nickel, which is an item that other people can pick up, but now the Keeper just defaults with it, and that's a lifesaver, because that's an item that has exactly 1 charge, so every time you clear a room of enemies, it recharges, you can use it again, and when you use it, it has a 50-50 chance of dropping a coin, so you might have nothing, but you could, if you're lucky, give yourself the opportunity to heal a lot. And if you're really lucky, you might drop a 5-cent or even a 10-cent piece. Those are rarer, but, it makes the Keeper more, viable for long-term play. Additionally, I unlocked the store key for him, which is a key that will always unlock store doors and not expend your consumable keys, but only store doors. So if you're not getting hurt when you use that wooden nickel, you can actually raise a lot of money, so you're going to want to go to the store and power yourself up if possible. That makes the Keeper way more playable. The reason I bring the Keeper up is that I had an incredible run with him a few days ago, where I was finally able to beat Mega Satan with him, and let me tell you, that was no joke. This is something that I was super excited about, so I actually put the end of the run, when you get to the good part, on YouTube. What had happened was I picked up 2 different power-ups, which greatly increase your power, but noticeably reduce your rate of fire. And I said already that the Keeper has a pretty low rate of fire, so with these 2 power-ups, it's something insane. Like, I think it's literally 3 seconds between shots, where normally you fire relatively rapidly, so this, you get your 1 shot, and you damn well better connect with it, or you're just standing there for, several seconds, which is an eternity in this game. The good news, though, is that earlier, I picked up one of the greatest items in the game, called the Godhead, which allows your shots to penetrate enemies, makes them bigger, and emit glowing light, and I think have weak homing. So there's a bit of an irony here. My rate of fire was very slow, and one of the power-ups actually slowed the shots themselves, but the more powerful your tiers get, the bigger, the physically bigger they get. So it was actually at a point where they were so large that when I fired them, they would slowly pretty much just pan across the whole room, because it's a 3-way shot. So they're kind of going in different directions, and the fact that the shots themselves were slower was ironically beneficial to me, because if they can penetrate enemies, that means they're continuously washing over them and not exploding on impact, so they're dealing continuous damage. So I could literally enter a room, fire, and it's clear. Nothing was fighting back.
It feels like cheating.
It kind of does. Unfortunately, I didn't show any of that in my video, just going through regular stuff, but I got to the boss of the cathedral, and I beat him in 3 hits. It took a while to fire 3 times, because my shot fire was really slow, but that's absolutely insane. That doesn't happen. I don't think I've ever had a run in the 401 hours I played this game where I hit that hard. So I get to Mega Satan, and he does a thing where when you damage him enough, he retreats and summons 2 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, and when you kill both of them, the other 2. So I killed one in one shot, so the other's just hanging around. And then I fire in such a way, like I'm on the upper right of the screen. I fire diagonally down and to the left. The Horseman in front of me disappears, and my tears are so slow that they're still going when the other 2 appear, and they happen to go through the lower left one and kill him too, like on impact. And it's just like, Jesus. And like the other 2 Horsemen that appear later are stronger, so the fact that it's still one shot one of them is just nuts. Not to mention, I one-shot Mega Satan to get him to bring those enemies up in the first place. You have to damage him enough for him to retreat. I just hit him once and he's gone. I beat the 4 Horsemen, he comes back. I hit him once again, he's gone. I beat the 7 Sins. I hit him again once, he's gone. I kill one of the Dark Angels that appears. The second Dark Angel actually took 2 hits from me, God forbid. Wow. And then so I just freaking murdered Mega Satan. It was a travesty. I didn't even get hit because there were no opportunities for the enemies to attack. If there had been, that would have been a problem for me, honestly. But I just destroyed it. So at this point, I've beaten Mega Satan with everybody. So that took freaking forever. Yeah, it took forever. I also beat Mega Satan and Delirium with Apollyon, the guy who could keep upgrading with his Void move. So at this point, I finally have reached the 90% mark in terms of achievements for Isaac Rebirth. I have 306 out of the 339 achievements. It's getting to that point. But, I say this every time. The only stuff left is the hard stuff, and the more stuff I beat, therefore means the only stuff left is the even harder stuff. So it's some of it might not be so bad. I have to beat Delirium with a bunch of normal characters, but gotta do it. So really moving along with Isaac Rebirth. So
now they're going to release another DLC just so you just because they don't want you to ever get 100%.
Oh, I know, right? No, I think I might have actually mentioned this in a previous podcast, but the when on the game's first iteration, the platinum achievement was called Platinum God, and then when I think Afterbirth or maybe the Rebirth version or whatever it was, when it was released with the additional achievements, when you platinum that, it's called Real Platinum God. The one for Afterbirth Plus, I think, is called something like Okay, You Can Stop Now or something like that. And Old Man Stompy, I think, said that the little picture on the achievement is a stop sign. It's I think we're done.
I can't wait for it to come out on Switch. I really can't.
I cannot believe it's coming out on a Nintendo system. That's amazing.
Well, I mean, the one before, the version of the game before... no, they're not. The version of it before wasn't censored. I'm
just joking, because Nintendo likes to censor everything.
Nintendo does like to censor stuff. And
they do.
Honestly, it surprises me that they're allowing this game at all, because it really goes into some dark territory if you read between the lines in this game.
It's a very, very much religious commentary too.
It is.
So,
there's a bunch
on top of some of the heaviest topics like abortion and things like that.
Boy, does it go into abortion! Holy shit! And there's a bunch of crosses, and there's Satan, and it takes you back to the original Nintendo where the existence of a cross would be censored in Western release, and now it's you're directly using them and you're fighting the devil and then Mega Satan. It's okay.
What's really funny is that it was very inconsistent from game to game. There are certain games that had crosses very prominently, and they weren't censored at all, and other ones had entire functions removed. Dragon Warrior, for instance. You go into a church and you can't have a cross at a church.
And meanwhile, in Castlevania, you throw crosses.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but you can't see the crosses on the church in Castlevania 3. You can only throw them.
I'm just excited to have this game in portable form because I think the game would work fantastically as a portable game, and have all of the functions that it should. Because,
that was what I was going to say, because it was released on the Vita, but I think the system wasn't capable of handling all of the extra stuff, so I think you just have vanilla Rebirth for the Vita.
Exactly, and I think by the time that was released, they had already announced the Afterbirth Plus stuff.
Ooh,
so it was just you just gotta wait until it comes out, and then they revealed that it was never coming out, right?
Yeah,
so
sucks.
it's just like, this is so cool. I mean, the Switch has already impressed me in a number of ways, but having a game like that to fall back on and just play a little bit of it here and there, I just hope that they remember to include game specific achievements, because the system doesn't have a global achievements, right? So I just hope that they do include their own achievements in order, because that's a big part of the game. I mean, that's really what the goal is.
Well,
in those
I
games,
will
or
say
in that
this.
game, right?
On one hand, achievements kind of do define the Binding of Isaac, but at the same time, literally for every achievement you would get, except for obviously Platinum, every achievement in the game otherwise unlocks something. So whatever you've unlocked still defines your progress. You just can't see it. I mean, you can in the menu look at what you've unlocked, so in a way that would be an achievement tracker, but it is more fun to look at actual achievements.
Yeah, but this is the type of game in which achievements really sing. Like, high score games as well are like that, like pinball games. I mean, you never see really the end of a pinball game, right? But you can accomplish maybe the toughest task in a pinball game. You can do like the toughest mission in a pinball game that gives you the most points, let's say. And you can consider that like beating the game, or and then from there you just beat your high score, right?
With Isaac, there's like one true boss after another, so there's all sorts of different endings that show you different aspects of the lore.
Exactly. So with a game like that, I feel like achievements are an integral part of the experience, and that's kind of why you're playing.
It is.
And I actually am a little disappointed that it's done in a way in which you can't reset it, right? Like, you can't have a clean file.
You can't reset your achievements, but you can have a clean file in terms of stuff that hasn't been unlocked in-game.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't reset achievements in Steam, for instance.
That is kind of a shame.
You can't reset achievements on PlayStation. I wish they would have some kind of functionality for that, because
or at least a notification that shows
game,
you when you would have gotten the achievement again.
Exactly. Maybe like a
a phantom, like a ghost achievement. Like the ghost mode in like Mario Kart or something. Just like raise yourself.
You could easily see somebody who really loves a certain game wanting to go through the achievement process.
And not to mention, some achievements are actually they actually complement the gameplay experience. And I don't just mean the Binding of Isaac. I mean, there are some achievements that kind of define a moment that you're just not going to get again. Like, there's a part of
Portal 2.
Yeah, Portal 2, the part where he kills you.
Yeah, that's definitely one of those games.
But there's also a part in Dreadout, not Keepers of the Dark, Dreadout Act 2. So Dreadout, just to refresh everyone's memory, is the not Fatal Frame game for PC. There's a part, and I think it's my favorite part of the entire game. Vice, I showed this to you once, where you're talking to your friend, and you're just first person looking at her and trying to dialogue your way through a very uncomfortable conversation because your friend's being possessed by a ghost. So you're talking to the ghost, and you're just like, could you not be in my friend? And there's a part where the friend asks, like, oh, so you think you know this person so well? Do you really? Okay. How about her phone number? What's her phone number? And that is some freaking trivia, dude, because you see it for like a split second in like Act Zero's prologue. Like, you're not going to remember this.
And you're not going to remember it, and you didn't think you needed to retain it. So
exactly.
Your brain throws it out.
So when you get that question, if you do actually put in the phone number correctly, the person just flippantly says, oh, okay, all right, well, you do it. Achievement unlocked. Good job. And when she says that, like, the achievement pops up. It's just a really cool little extra thing that you can only see once. It was really entertaining, but you only get it once, so it would be kind of cool to be able to replicate that experience.
Yeah, I mean, certain games even have like fourth wall breaking moments where they acknowledge that an achievement is going to be unlocked.
Yep.
I mean, and you're only going to ever get that experience once, and it kind of sucks that you can't have that experience again, or you show a friend even.
Yeah, when you kill the first boss in Lollipop Chainsaw, Zed, the achievement pops up. Zed's dead, baby. Zed's dead. And it's like,
I guess the one way that you could do it, and this is kind of like spoofing it, but you can turn family share on, right? On and make another account.
You could, yeah,
right?
you could. But
that's stupid.
Yeah, you shouldn't. Yeah, you shouldn't have to do that.
On the other hand, I can see why they wouldn't give you the ability, because most people would probably not want. But they should let you. I could see them like giving you shadow achievements, let's say, where it's just showing you the achievement again, even though you already unlocked
it. Well, yeah, exactly. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Just
and like just give you the ability to turn it on or off.
Yeah. So anyway, all that was Isaac. Just a couple other things. One of them is extremely quick. I don't even really have anything to say about these. Just the fact that I picked up Gravity Rush for the PS4 the first one? No, sorry, I already had that one. Gravity Rush 2 for the PS4 and Breath of the Wild for the Wii U, just because I get the feeling those games are going to disappear, like off of store shelves. Like,
yeah, the Wii U one is not going.
Yeah, it's getting a little hard to find. No, it won't. Like it's getting a little hard to find Gravity Rush 2 as it is, and just like Neo and Breath of the Wild. I mean, it's brand new right now, but I'm afraid it's going to pull a Twilight Princess for the GameCube and just vanish because everyone's going to the Switch.
It's probably going to be the very last first-party release for Wii U.
It may very well, yeah.
I don't. Maybe there might be a Just Dance game released or something of that nature, but it's close to even being probably the last release for the system. I don't know who would even make another game for it, because there's something only like 12 million consoles out there, and so third-party support obviously is very low. I mean, why would you go for only 12 million systems? It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense for Nintendo to release games on its own system, but why would you even bother with only 12 million people who for sure have other means of playing video games?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know anybody who just has a Wii U like that. That's just who has just a Wii U? Come on.
Yeah, that's the hill to die on. That's the one
I
system
do.
I want. Okay, so
and the PS4.
Exactly. So that was just the only thing I wanted to mention there. The other two things. One, I finally beat The Witcher, and it was super cool.
Nice.
Now, I'm not going to go into plot spoilers, but I do want to describe a certain thing that happens in the ending, which is actually one of the cooler ways of handling an ending. I don't mean the ending cutscene. I mean the way it handled taking the final boss out. So not the way the game ends, but the way the final fight ends. It was one of the better finishers I've seen in a video game, and that doesn't happen often. You don't have a really cool send-off of the final boss often. This one freaking nailed it for me. I don't know if you'll like it the same way I did, but it freaking got me. I'm not going to go into plot spoilers, like I said, and I won't even tell you who the final boss is, but, I mean, this is going to come as no surprise. It's the big mastermind, behind everything that happened in the game. Now, I had mentioned back when I first started playing The Witcher, a basic gameplay mechanic, which is you have two swords. One of them is steel, which is used on humans and animals, and the other is silver, which is used against basically anything you would find in a Dungeons & Dragons game. Yeah, supernatural creatures. So, of course, with the last area of the game, I have to switch. They don't tend to make me fight both types of enemies at the same time, but even so, I'm switching swords repeatedly as I'm going through this gauntlet, right? So, I finally get to the final boss, and he actually does surround me with a bunch of supernatural things, and he himself is a human, so I have to deal with him with a steel sword. I finally beat him, and the game does something that not too many games do, and they have the final boss just kind of, when the fight is over, the final boss just kind of lies on the ground, and you get to walk up to him and hit him one more time for the big finish. Metal Gear Solid 3 and Silent Hill 2 did this, where it's here's the boss, now finish the job. And for those games, it was this big emotional moment, because in one of the games, there's a sort of sense of how pathetic the final boss really is. It was a threat, but, this is what you are, man. I almost feel bad for you. And in the other game, you really have to kill this boss, and you don't want to, but you gotta do it. So it's actually a really heavy moment. For The Witcher, it's not like that. You definitely want this guy dead. You've had a personal vendetta against the leader of the thing that's been ruining your life throughout the entire game, and as a Witcher, your job is to carry out certain tasks, a lot of them involving killing things, and this time you're actually being funded directly by the king. He's like, I will give you 8,000 gold pieces, which is an insane pay, and you can't even use it in game. It's just more of like a plot payment, but like it is literally your job to kill this guy now. So you finally beat him, and I think what the game was doing was giving you a sense of I don't know, like almost catharsis, because you're fighting the game Witcher style, right? Or you're fighting the boss Witcher style. So you got to manage your health, check your potions, buff yourself, make sure that you don't die, make sure that he does die, watch out for all the things chasing you, so you're like, oh, you finally got him. So normally in like a Souls game, the sense of relief is that you survived. Like the boss dies and you're like, oh, okay. But with The Witcher, this is heavy on plot. So you finally take him out, okay, battle's over. Now, you could take a few seconds, gather your thoughts, walk up to him, one last blow. This is going to be good. So, like, that's the way they're handling it. So what was really cool is you click on him and you get the boss killing cutscene. But what I found, this is the good part. You hold your steel sword over him, and you kind of give it a couple beats, and then you throw it away. And this really, really threw me off, because this is not like your character, and this is not like how the entire game has been established. Again, you want this guy dead, and so does the freaking king. So it just weirded me out that this would happen, because Geralt isn't even the kind of guy to be like...
He's pretty brutal.
Yeah, he's not one of those guys like in an 80s anime where he's like, I'm going to give you one last chance. You know, like with Goku
no,
and
he's not
Frieza.
like that. He'll kill somebody.
Yeah,
no
like,
problem.
I mean, if he has a reason not to kill something, like he hears their side of the story, that might be different with like side quests. But he actually did hear the boss's side of the story, and he's like, no, fuck you. So like, he wants this boss dead, really dead. So he throws his sword away. I'm like, what? But then he pulls out his silver sword and holds it over the boss. And the boss looks up at it, just confused. And he's like, but that sword's for monsters. And then you stab him in the heart with it, and I was like, oh, shit!
Oh, wow.
it was so freaking good. It was amazing.
That's awesome.
It was fantastic.
That's a really good moment.
It was amazing. So that was just the really cool Witcher moment. The last thing I want to bring up before I turn this over is that Mr. Ryu and I were actually able to do a special event escape room experience. It was a Resident Evil in general themed, but in promotion for Resident Evil 7, its recent release. It was a Resident Evil themed escape room in New York City. So we did that. Instead of the usual hour time limit you would have with local escape rooms, this was 45 minutes, but the rooms were generally horror or in some cases particularly Resident Evil themed. So there was some crazy stuff, like you're finding vials of colored liquid that like could potentially be the viruses from Umbrella, you know. There's a room where like Leon's jacket's hanging on the wall and you got like Chris's ID somewhere. There were occasional poundings on the wall from the other side and the lights would go out to make it spooky. There's like a freaking VHS tape that you have to find to put in a TV to show you something. So they made a VHS tape for this and had a VCR and an old ass CRT TV. That was kind of
that's attention to detail. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was like, hey,
that's really neat.
And we actually pulled off the escape room. In the 45 minutes we had to beat it, we did it in about 32. So it was Mr. Ryu, myself, and then 4 other people we didn't know. You know, it's mostly a gathering of strangers, just whoever signs up for this thing. So it was really enjoyable, and it always felt good when either teamwork happened or when individual people solved a particular puzzle, like you couldn't figure out this box and you finally did, or you couldn't and somebody else did, or somebody else couldn't and you did. Like, it's a really good feeling of camaraderie. And as the person
satisfaction,
and as the person in the event pointed out, it's arguably better for progress that you don't do it with people you know, because you don't have like it's more business that way.
Emotional entanglement,
yeah.
So
you're not afraid of making people upset.
Somebody. Yeah,
it's more like we got to get this shit done. Like, you do this, you do this, you do this, instead of it's more like coworker or professional than like I don't know, like just overly casual. So it was a really enjoyable event. So I was glad I got to experience that. And the funny thing is, at the end of the event, they play you a trailer for Resident Evil 7. But but now
it's been
the game is out, and Mr. Ryu's already beaten it, so it's like, oh, okay. But it was really cool. So
was it horror or just horror themed? Like, were there scary moments, or did it just like
the scary moments were
scary?
like pounding on the walls and the lights out. They're like the rooms weren't scary, but they reminded you of Resident Evil in terms of creepy house with stuff you don't know what's going on, or like the STARS office or something, or like a lab where there's weird chemicals and like the lights red, almost like a dark room. Like, so it like if you went into it completely blind, you may or may not realize it's Resident Evil, except for the STARS room, but it was still pretty rad.
Nice. Really cool.
So yeah, that was my segment. So how about you, Vice?
So I've had a really busy life recently. As frequent listeners know, I moved into a new apartment. I'm still trying to get settled there. It's really hard to, still unpack things and cook yourself dinner and all that kind of stuff.
Cooking your own dinner takes time.
yeah, and doing your own laundry and all that jazz, and so like maybe if I was in a relationship, it would be a little bit different because you could like split duties. You know what I mean? But I have to do everything for myself. So it's been tough for me to get much free time in. I haven't been able to do as much as I've wanted to. Plus, I even have things like my job has been demanding more time of me. I put in 50 hours this week. And I also have jury duty tomorrow. So it's just a whole bunch of things have really coalesced and made sure that I don't have much free time. But I will say this, that I have been playing Zelda every chance that I can in order to relax a little bit, and with the hour here and the hour there, and just going through the motions in that game is so much fun. I know I keep gushing about it, and I've talked about it for a while now, but it is a blast to play.
If I didn't have all these other games that I wanted to play, I would definitely be picking that up. I don't have a Switch, but I'd get it for the Wii U because I heard that it's just as good on the Wii U.
Yeah, they're very comparable.
They're almost identical, except for the fact that it runs even better on the portable mode on the Switch. Is what people have been saying. It has a better frame rate.
I've read a couple articles regarding this. Apparently, the Wii U version stutters in some places where the Switch version doesn't, but the Switch version stutters in some places the Wii U version doesn't. They might have prioritized different things in programming. The only thing that I'm aware of that is definitively better is if you dock the Switch and play it hooked up to the TV. You can get it in 900p resolution instead of 720 for the Wii U. But that's not, enough to make me buy a Switch just for that. But, like, there's your difference.
It's great, though, because it's given people an excuse who have, skipped the Wii U to buy a new system with a new Zelda game on it and put in a lot of time.
Yeah.
In fact, I think it's way outselling the Wii U version.
Not surprising.
The Switch version, yeah. And, it's kind of funny. People are more willing to pay more money for a brand new system and the Switch, the Switch and the game than they are to buy a used Wii U and that game.
By the way, one thing I heard that's really strange, I mean, I kind of get it, but it's a little bizarre, is that apparently Nintendo took away the Wii U like gamepad support for Breath of the Wild because they wanted the experience to be the same on both systems. Now, on one hand, I feel that might not be the best decision because it takes away something that makes the Wii U version unique, but at the same time, I don't think I would Let's Play a Zelda game, but if I ever were to, I definitely like having everything on the TV screen, so that actually benefits me personally.
Sure, and I could see that as well. However, you got to remember that the Switch kind of combines, the experience as well, because you got to remember that the Switch does have a touch screen.
Okay.
So it can be a similar experience to the touch screen, the touchpad on the Wii U.
But only when it's not docked, right?
Correct.
Okay.
But playing it not docked is actually still really fun. It's not a knock on it at all. In fact, it's a huge huge advantage over the Wii U version, because this game is a lot of fun just to play, even just for a half hour. Because the game is all about small achievements, right? It's less about, hey, I need to go to the next dungeon, and it's more about, hey, I need to explore this area. Hey, I need to collect a certain amount of this resource. Hey, I need to go through the dungeon, the shrine challenges in this area. I need to unlock the tower in this region. So
that's what I feel like with Horizon.
Yeah, I feel badly about Horizon, because I feel like that game is great, but it's getting overlooked by Zelda because it's Zelda. You know what I mean? It has the name recognition. It has, and also it just has that Nintendo charm that is so hard to ignore. I don't know how else to put it other than Nintendo has this fantastic way of making even something as mundane as a menu fun. And no other company is good at that. Like Nintendo.
Well, Persona,
I will
right?
disagree with
Persona?
that. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, but I'm saying, like, even the hardware. No one can make hardware like that. I don't know of any other company that makes hardware fun to use. Like the 3DS is fun to use. There's all kinds of cool things. Even the the Street Pass games have that rabbit that sells you new Street Pass games. You know what I mean? Like, and that rabbit gets upset when you don't buy the games from him. Like it's so much fun just to interact in the menus on their systems. They make it fun. They play music, and they switch up the jingles when you do it. It's just so incredibly charming, and Zelda picks up where that leaves off. So my big example for that is consumables. You have all kinds of consumables in this game that can refill your life. And you have tons of apples, because apples grow everywhere in Hyrule in the game. And I have I have something like 60 apples, and they fill something like half a heart or a quarter heart. I can't remember at the moment, but you can rapidly eat apples, and every time Link eats something in the menu, there's Link off towards the side, and they show the character model stuffing his face, right? And if you do it rapidly, he does it switching both hands. So he'll do it he'll constantly shovel food into his mouth, with both hands. And it's really fun just to even do that, and it's really quick, so it's not inconvenient. So not only is it very functional, but it's fun to do it. That shouldn't be fun, but it is.
That actually reminds me. I saw a YouTube video showing an Easter egg in Nier Automata, where it's giving you the tutorial for in the menu system. It was now adjust the volume so you can hear my voice. Once you do, it's so can you hear me? And the more you keep saying no, the more confused and bothered the computer gets. It's you really should be able to. I don't understand. It's little things like that just kind of make it all the more fun.
Are your speakers plugged in?
Yeah. It reminds me of Snatcher. That explosion was loud. That's because you forgot to turn the volume back down. Oh.
But having said that, I'm having a blast playing this game, and not even really progressing the story. I got through one of the 4 major dungeons. I don't even know if there are more dungeons after that. There's probably a final dungeon, so I'm gonna guess that there are 5. And I beat one major dungeon, and I've played it like almost every day since I've bought it. And I'm only playing an hour or 2 here and there, when I have free time, but or I need to wind down from a hard day of work. But it is such a blast to play, and it's really hard to stop playing. I haven't I'm likening the feeling of playing this game to Doom last year. Doom was my favorite game last year, hands down. I loved it. I loved playing it. I loved doing all unlocking things in it constantly. It's a different type of game than Zelda, but the feeling is the same. First of all, it's nostalgic, right? You think back to the old version of the game that you're playing, but not only that, but you're wondering about how awesome it is converging with the newness of game design, right? This game takes a lot from a lot of different games that I like. It takes from Far Cry, from Assassin's Creed, from Oblivion, from Morrowind, all that stuff, Skyrim, and still manages to be a Zelda game. It doesn't lose its Zelda-ness, but it still merges it all together and it's so charming in such a distinct way. And it's just fun even just to climb to a top of a mountain and see what you can see there. And I don't get that feeling when I'm playing Skyrim. In fact, when Skyrim and games like that, I like playing them, but I do not want to explore the entire thing of it. I feel like a lot of it is generic.
Yeah, I heard someone say something similar with Zelda, how like you want to explore, and it kind of made me upset with Horizon because I did want to explore, but because I have the maps, I know there's nothing there.
Okay. So this game doesn't really hold your hand at all. In fact, it allows you to figure out a lot of the mechanics on your own, which is completely the opposite of what happened in Skyward Sword. Skyward Sword held your hand way too much where it got annoying. It's completely the opposite in this game. In fact, you figure out how to cook totally on your own. They show you hints that you should be doing certain things, but kind of like the Egoraptor video
on Mega Man X.
Mega Man, about how Mega Man X teaches you to play the game.
The level design shows how it works.
It's kind of like that. They shove you in front of they show a pot in which you could cook. However, it doesn't tell you how to cook. You in order to cook, you need to hold items in your. You have to go into the menu and say hold these items, and you can hold up to 5 items, and then you can throw them. Well, if they all go into the pot, then you cook an item with all 5 of those items that you threw into there. Or if you do not throw them directly into the pot, let's say you could throw them on the ground, and even that has a function. Like you can use that to bait enemies. You can use it to feed your horse. Like you can throw down apples so that your horse can eat them, and that helps your bonding with your steeds.
Nice.
There's all kinds of things you can do. You can even throw them directly on fire and make roasted versions of those items, and that's completely different than making a dish. There's 2 different things you can do with food. You can either sear it and make it like a roasted version of that item, or you can throw it into a dish and make it have different characteristics. So I'll say this: you can throw 5 steaks into a pot and make a steak skewer, or you could throw a steak onto a fire and then turn it into a seared steak.
That's cool.
So it's really neat, and you can even consume raw meat if you really want to.
But
it's of course
salmonella.
Less effective. So I can't stop gushing about the game. It's so much fun, and I'll be playing it for a long time, and I won't be playing very much else. One last thing I did want to mention is that it got me interested in Amiibos again. So I like Amiibos. I think they're cool, but I kind of stopped caring about them for a while. And I found that it's really just my interest in Amiibos is very much linked to what, no pun intended there.
I was just gonna
very much linked to what it does for me in the game, rather than just what they look like.
That makes sense.
And having them. So, Breath of the Wild's Amiibo support is really awesome. It's really good. So, if you put the Twilight Princess Wolf Amiibo on the Switch, it will give you a wolf companion, which is something you can't get otherwise. The Link Smash Amiibo will get you, I believe that one gets you Epona, which you can't get otherwise in the game. You can only either get other horses that are, wild horses. So you can only get Epona that way. That specific horse. There's one that's the Guardians are like a big part of the game. They're like these big robots that Ganon took over, and they're very, very powerful. The Guardian Amiibo gets you ancient weaponry that is very powerful, and I have a one that is a Pixel Link. It's like a 30th year edition Link Amiibo that is basically made out of blocks. He's like a pixel Link that looks like the NES version of Link. They did that with Mario as well. But if you put him on there, you actually get the original outfit from the artwork for the original
that's
Legend
cool.
of Zelda. And it looks great in HD. It's just so cool looking to see your character dressed up as the old version of Link.
And it reminds
Really,
me
really
of Metal Gear Solid 4, where you could look like polygon Metal Gear Solid 1 Snake.
Yeah. It's great. I mean, you don't look like it's not poly. It's
no,
not
I know,
pixel
but you have that
Link.
retro look.
Yeah, but you look like an 80s anime character.
Sure. Yeah.
In 3D, which is really cool. Like even the art style of his face changes a little, I believe. So it's just a number of things that are really cool about the Amiibo used in that game, and I bought all the ones that I care about. Like I looked up all the ones that first looked cool, and also what they gave you. So I have all the ones that I think I want. There are other ones that are compatible, but I don't really care about. So just having said that, I did buy a couple other games. I'm just going to be real quick here. I bought Nier Automata out of complete devotion to Nier. I love Nier. I absolutely think it's one of the best games ever made, the original one. I have never beat it, so I know I can't definitively say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. I love the game. I love playing that game. I just haven't had a chance to beat it. And I hear that the new one's really great, like inside and out. So I can't wait to play it. So I bought it just to support it. I bought it for PS4. I know the Steam version's coming out pretty soon. So
yeah, I'm probably gonna wait to get it on Steam.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll run really well too, because Platinum makes good PC versions of games. And I bought Horizon because I felt bad for the game. I will want to play it eventually, so I bought it. And I also bought a couple items on the Switch. I'm a big Neo Geo fan, and longtime listeners will know that I have a Neo Geo. But they came out with a bunch of Neo Geo games for the Switch. And I bought Shock Troopers, which is one of my favorite. It's an above view run and gun game, kind of like Mercs, if anybody's ever played that one. It's a lot of fun. And I also bought the new Blaster Master game.
Yeah, that seems really interesting.
I saw a video of it. I saw a video of it, and it looked like a lot of fun. It looked very reminiscent of the original game, but I haven't had a chance to play it yet, so I can't even report back. But having said that, I will move on to my my weigh-in. I'm back down to 222.
Hey.
So I'm heading in the right direction. Again, I'll say this, that my new adjustment in life has thrown me off. So I hope to continue moving down. But having said that, we should move on to at least a single question here.
Yeah, this is a simple one. From Fakafon, do you guys have any favorite food, like / dishes, and drinks?
Okay. I can answer that easily. I love buffalo flavored anything. So I am a huge fan of buffalo wings and buffalo chicken cheesesteaks. Love them. If they're ever on the menu, that's probably what I'm going to be ordering. I also like ribs a lot. I really like ribs. And as a favorite drink, probably I would probably have to go with if we're talking about alcoholic drinks, I would have to say I would say an old fashioned. I really love old fashions. And if we're talking non-alcoholic, I would probably go with root beer and a specific type. Saranac root beer is excellent. Love it. Okay.
I really like pumpkin spice. No, I'm just kidding.
Ooh.
I'm a white girl. Wait. No, I really like mainly anything that's meat and potatoes. Meatloaf with mashed potatoes is great. Shepherd's pie is great. That's probably one of my favorite meals is shepherd's pie, and just mainly anything with meat and potatoes.
Delicious.
In terms of drinks, I don't really have favorite alcoholic drinks, but in terms of non-alcoholic, probably it used to be Dr. Pepper, but I've been mainly drinking seltzer now. I've tried to cut out all soda, other than like for special occasions. So, just seltzer. I have a soda stream, so I can basically make whatever flavor seltzer I want, which is great.
Nice.
I drink a lot of Pellegrino myself, so I drink a lot of club soda and things and seltzer. Yeah.
Okay, so as for me, I really do like ribs, but I think my favorite food might just be just spaghetti and meatballs. It just gets me every time. It's super good.
Spaghetti with meatballs on the side, right?
No, not this time. And as for drinks, I don't really have an answer for this because I drink orange juice in the morning, when I get up. But otherwise, I just really drink water. And I can't say that that's my favorite drink. That's just what I drink. So that's kind of it for me.
He likes plain drink.
Yeah, do we have any plain water, please?
Plain drink.
All right. So I think that wraps up our episode for this week. It ran over a little bit, but I think it was worth it. We had some really good discussion here. So I do want to thank our fan that contributed this week, Fakafon. Thank you very much for the question. Please keep us supplied with awesome topics by submitting questions of your own on the YouTube and SoundCloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs up, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. It helps us promote and spread the awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps us keep the podcast going. We love doing this, and we want everybody to encourage us and let us know that they like it and what we can do to improve. So you can catch us on Thursday upcoming on our sister podcast, Reactive Consciousness, the in-depth look at this week in pop culture. Finally, you can find me as VyseTheBold, VyseTheBold on Steam, PSN, Xbox Live, and Twitter, and anything else you can think of. How about some plugs, guys?
Well, you can find me at my Lotus Prince YouTube page, and you can follow me on Twitter at LOTUSPRINCE. So that's Lotus Prince, all one word, on Twitter if you'd like to message me that way. I do tend to use that name with or without a space for my other things as well, but for Steam and my gaming systems, I just use them to game. So for actual communication, I suggest sticking with Twitter or YouTube comments or messages.
Yeah, if you want to find me, you can look for PyroJackFrost on things, and you might be able to find me. If not, then I'm either not on it or I have a different name.
Touche.
And he doesn't want your bullshit.
No fun
Yes.
allowed.
Well, thanks for listening, folks, and we will be back on Thursday with Reactive Consciousness this week. Thank you.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye.